Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast update for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, temperatures are starting to warm up from west to east across the Prairie provinces. Temperatures above freezing on Friday morning across much of Alberta, still -5, -7 as we go from Saskatoon to Regina over toward Winnipeg, so still dealing with those colder temperatures as you go off toward the east. So we look at the satellite picture here on Friday morning. The sun almost comes up in time to illuminate some of the snow that we still have on the ground across the region, but we're able to see that because we've got sunny skies across much of the region as high pressure starts to build in. So in the absence of clouds, we're not talking about precipitation across the prairie either as we go through this Friday morning. A little bit of light snow possible well north of Saskatoon here across the north central portions of Saskatchewan. That is a system that could bring a couple snowflakes to the Winnipeg area. I've talked about that back on the Wednesday forecast as well. Still showing up, still not expecting much. So through the day today, a lot of sunshine for you across the prairie. Into the overnight tonight, maybe a snowflake in the Winnipeg area. Not expecting any accumulation out of that. Should be out of here by the time the sun comes up on Saturday, leading us into another kind of mixed bag. Dry conditions, a mix of cloudiness and sunshine across the prairie on Saturday, and then more the same as we head into Sunday, maybe a little bit more in the way of cloud cover across eastern portions of the prairie, and then more sunshine as you get back toward the west where we're getting that ridge moving in. So we're going to be seeing a lot more sunshine and some mild temperatures, so a really pleasant first week of December across the Canadian ag belt here. So this is the upper level pattern, 500 millibar heights and anomalies as we head into next week. So here we go. Ridging is going to take us into the weekend, and then early next week, this is as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And then as we take it a little bit deeper, we're going to see the ridge flatten out. And I mentioned, be ready for a transition maybe to a more wintry vibes in the week 2 time frame during my last forecast. I still generally stand by that. But I think we're seeing a little bit of backing off on maybe how abrupt the transition could be and how cold we're really going to be transitioning. I think maybe we just pivot away from a more warmer than average air mass across the region, maybe a little bit closer to seasonally appropriate. That may be more what we're looking at. So here's what's going on. Really, as I hit play on this, there's a lot of moving parts and some bizarre things taking place on the jet stream pattern here across North America. So let me bring it back to present day. As we head into the overnight tonight, here's our ridge. You can see this broadly in the jet stream flow, but embedded within that, you can see this little shortwave, this little patch of stronger jet stream winds. That's the upper level disturbance that again could kick off the increased cloud cover and maybe drop a few snowflakes through the Winnipeg area during the overnight into Saturday morning. So still a disturbance there kind of embedded within the flow as the ridge builds in, but once that pulls away, takes an odd loop just kind of diving down into the Gulf Coast, another system kind of on the heels there. This is where we'll see that increased cloudiness off toward the east as we head kind of deeper into the weekend. Whereas Alberta, you're more centered underneath that ridge, more sinking motion. You've got the clear skies, the sunshine. As you head off toward the east into portions of Manitoba, we've got these little pesky disturbances within the flow that just, there's no moisture to work with, so we're not kicking off, these would be things that would kick off around thunderstorms in the summertime months, but with a cold, dry, relatively speaking, cold, dry air mass in place across the region, we're not doing anything with these. So just a little bit of pesky cloud cover in eastern portions of the prairie, but then as we head into the week, the back half of the week and into next week, ridging really firmly in place across the region will keep things on the milder side. Heading into early next week, this is where some of the trouble sets up. We get another really weird thing that's happening here. This system that comes in across the Pacific Northwest takes a little taste of California before then backing off, retrograding over the Pacific off Baja California. That thing cuts itself off down here. It allegedly wants to get picked up by one of these waves across the Pacific Northwest and the polar jet as we get into the back half of next week. These can be stubborn. They can be really hard to kind of pin down. The reason I'm talking about that is because what we see here is, active jet stream flow being advertised to come in here and flatten the ridge out across the prairie as we get into the times that I'm kind of like meandering back and forth on here are Wednesday through Friday of next week. This is when I think that we will reintroduce precipitation to the prairie provinces. I think this is when we'll reintroduce some more seasonally appropriate colder temperatures. But there's a huge mess with, again, a lot of bizarre things happening between now and then, which is 5 to 7 days out into the time frame. So it's not going to do any of us any good for me to start promising specific scenarios. So what I want to show you again is, okay, so we're looking at week 1 on the left, and then week 2 on the right, jet stream height anomalies on the top, and then on the bottom we've got the precipitation anomaly forecast. So with a lot of ridging in place over the next 5 days, again, keeping things really pretty dry across much of the, not just the Canadian Prairie, but the lower 48 of the United States. Now we're going to flatten the ridge just a bit as we head into week 2, troughing across eastern Canada down into the Great Lakes. This is going to bring jet stream upper level support closer to or back to the ag belt. But this is not a pattern also that's going to be bringing, really big storm systems and slinging those up through the prairie, where we would want some troughing across this region. So still with ridging across the Pacific into Western Canada, we'll reintroduce colder temperatures. We'll reintroduce the chance for some snow across the prairie, but again, we're reintroducing the chance of precipitation across much of the central and northern plains of the U.S. all the way into the Ag Belt, a huge area with very low confidence at this point. Temperatures, same thing. Week 1 on the left, week 2 on the right. Big time ridge across the region. We've got a very anomalously warm air mass settling in across the region. Now, once again, I'm showing you the temperature anomalies at 850 millibars, which is just a few thousand feet up above our heads. So again, where we have snow on the ground, it's a little bit more muted than these alarming colors that you're seeing in the bottom left there. But then again, we head into week 2 over here on the right. This is what I want to kind of focus on, the transition here. Again, not much in the way of cold air to be found off to our north, both in this week 1 time frame and then even as we transition colder into week 2. So with a flatter pattern, we'll see less in the way of anomalously warm conditions, but without digging a big trough in across the region and without having a lot in the way of bitterly cold temperatures easily accessible here, I question, again, how abrupt and just how far this cold transition is going to take us. So then we can look at the precipitation forecast, what we've got accompanying all of this from the European operational model. Here's your little chance for a couple of snowflakes during the overnight into Saturday morning in Winnipeg with that pesky little system, again, going up and over the top of the ridge. We'll see the same thing, but not producing snow as we head through Sunday into Monday, just that increase in cloud cover. That same thing, meaning that system coming up over the top of the ridge. But we continue to keep things dry. Let me go ahead and backtrack here. Saturday into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, still nothing across the prairie. This is when it gets question marky. Wednesday night into Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. So back half of next week into next weekend. That's when we could maybe turn things back on. We'll talk about what that looks like when I get a little bit of confidence in what it's going to look like. At this point, though, I can tell you it's reliably dry across the Ag Belt through Tuesday, at least midday. This is the precipitation forecast into Tuesday morning. This is your chance for a couple snowflakes in the Winnipeg area. Other than that, we got nothing to talk about across the Ag Belt. As I take the next 10 days and add those in, we will likely reintroduce the chance for a couple of corridors of some accumulating snow and colder temperatures back into the prairie, but I would be willing to bet you just about anything that it's not going to look exactly like this 10-day precipitation forecast suggests. So just absorb the pattern change, the low confidence in that, and my low confidence in just how abrupt it's going to really be across the prairie. So here's your next 10 days in Calgary. This is what I'm talking about. Anomalously warm over the next 4 to 5 days. We do dramatically, or at least somewhat dramatically cool down, but we're talking about stair-stepping down, over the course of a couple days back to where we really should be this time of year. Same thing in Medicine Hat. We're warming up over the weekend into early next week, just stair-stepping back down to probably more seasonally appropriate temperatures. Saskatoon, you're a little bit more muted. You're a little cooler here. High temperatures still above freezing, though, as we head into the middle part of next week. Regina, very similarly. Winnipeg, again, off to the east. It's not quite the dramatic warm-up in your area. You got that chance for maybe a couple of snowflakes Friday night into Saturday morning. Otherwise, we'll enjoy a dry next 5 to 7 days with high temperatures a couple of degrees, give or take, above freezing as we head into the middle part of next week. Likely going to be trailing off into sub-freezing temperatures as we get to the back half of next week into the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you all again on Monday morning.